So if someone's got a business and let's say, they're already pulling $100,000 a year right now, how long would that typically take when you start planning those things out? Is that like a 5-year? Is it a 10-year? Is it a 20-year? I mean, of course, it's, based on someone's goals. But, what's that typical game plan look like?
I'm going to give you a really simple formula, because what this comes down to is it really comes down to 3 levers. So the F3 formula that we use is the annual income that you need to produce, then divided by 5 and times by 100. And that equals the net wealth that you would need in order to be able to achieve financial freedom. So simple maths would be, let's assume you needed $200,000 a year. Divide that by 5, times that by 100 means that we would need $4 million of net wealth in order to manufacture true financial freedom. So then we go, oh, wow, 4 million, that's a big number. But let's come back to those 3 levers. Lever number 1 is how much can you afford to contribute to building that portfolio? So after you earn your $100,000 from your business and you live your lifestyle, how much is left over? And are you contributing that to an investment portfolio? 2, how much risk are you prepared to take? Like, as you rightly said, Pete, if we've got it sitting in cash, it's making diddly squat. And if we've got it sitting in the share market, you're probably making about 8%, and property about the same. And then thirdly, how long are you prepared to wait? And if you want financial freedom in 10 years, you're going to have to pull those other 2 levers a whole lot harder, right? But if you're prepared to wait 30 years, then you might not have to pull them as hard. So this is about us working out those numbers and then having a really clear plan that connects your activity and your actions to the outcomes that you want, both personally and in your business.
Beautiful. I like that. And I think for many business owners, they may think strategically about their business for the next couple of years, but not strategically about the wealth plan for the next couple of years. And that's something that I only did very recently, because I, calculated what my number was and it was like, oh, okay, well, it'll take me X many years to do this. And then I kind of started looking at, okay, well, what are the milestones and what are the steps along the way? For me, as a pretty creative entrepreneur, I can get bored when I think of something that's going to take 10 years to do. Like, I've got an idea and vision and I know I'm going to get there, but I'm like, oh my God, that's so long. And so for me, like, property is even a little bit boring because it takes time to do things. But then when I started to map things out, I was like, okay, cool. Well, that gives me the confidence to keep my savings ratio in place based on the amount that I'm earning in income from the business. That inspires me to actually stay diligent with that savings ratio, because I know that's bit by bit each year getting me towards that, like, financially free forever, don't need business income anymore number.
Yeah. And look, I'm very similar, Pete, because I've got a short attention span. I like everything yesterday. And I did a study on this when I was writing my last book, where there was a study that was done on individuals to work out how connected their current self was to their future self. And they illustrated this by 2 overlapping circles. And they surveyed thousands of people and they asked them, how connected are you to the future version of yourself in 10 years' time? So if you're not very connected, it's going to be only a little bit overlapped. Or if you're real deeply connected, it's going to be very closely overlapped. And they worked out the individuals who were more deeply connected to their future selves found it much easier for them to defer gratification, because they could almost feel the benefits associated with putting that money away and making those decisions for them future selves. And they could feel the pain associated with inaction. Whereas people like us, Pete, we're like, stuff it. I'll just earn myself out of that situation in 10 years' time, right? So what I tried to do was redefine a financial operating system where taking action was the default action. And this came down to a principle I refer to as living for today and planning for tomorrow. So what I work out is the dangle of the carrot is that I need to earn enough income to allow me to live an abundant lifestyle every year, which, to be fair, my lifestyle doesn't cost a lot of money. I actually did a YouTube video talking about how much my life costs and how much I spend. So I want to do all of these nice things and travel around Australia and live this amazing lifestyle. But I also want to make sure that I have the freedom and flexibility to do the things I want in the future without compromising my goals today. So I just worked out what is my income target that I need to achieve every single year that allows me to have my cake and eat it too. And as long as I hit that, then everything happens and there's no sacrifice. Because I think the big problem here is, Pete, our parents taught us that in order to live an amazing lifestyle in the future, we need to sacrifice today. And I've never been motivated by that. That sounds horrible.
So and work forever and ever and ever and keep working and keep working.
Exactly. That's a terrible idea. In this day and age, we can have our cake and eat it too. And I think we're both the living proof of this, right? That we've been able to live in amazing lifestyles and do things that our parents don't do until they retire. And we're doing that in our 30s, but we're also setting ourselves up financially to achieve financial abundance well before our parents. And this
Yeah.
just goes to show that the rules are being written as we speak.
I'd also suggest that, our generation of business owners, and by that I mean millennials and Gen X as well, have read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss and realized that, hey, I don't have to, slave away and then enjoy my life later. I can start having flexibility in my life now. And I think the big kind of entrepreneur movement of the last 5 or 10 years. And, we've been around the block a little bit longer, right? You've been in business 15 years. I've been in business 15 years. So we kind of I think started a little bit before that wave, but now it's cool to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of that is driven by okay, well, you can used to be able to grab a backpack, jump on a plane and go and live in Thailand. And as long as you've got a dropship business making you $1,000 a month, then you're good. And, I'm retired. And I think, while that's not a real business, because it's probably not sustainable. But what we do have is business owners who are interested in the flexibility. They're interested in working flexibly, which we do a lot of work with, but they're also interested in, okay, how can I create a life that really works for me and do the work that I love? No one wants to go and play golf 5 days a week if you're our age. It's probably not that appealing. But how can I do meaningful work that I love with people that I enjoy doing it with and make good, good enough money that I'm able to, support, be with family, be with friends and have all of that kind of tied together nicely. And to me, that's the essence of lifestyle design. That's the essence of what Tim Ferriss was talking about in that book, is about, designing and choosing the life that you want and then making movements to actually build that.
Yeah. And I remember I was actually flying to Brazil and I actually listened to an audiobook of the 4-Hour Workweek, and it was this epiphany moment. I go, wow, can I actually do this? And I remember becoming very disheartened where my measure of success was a 4-hour workweek, right? And I'm like, I can't seem to systemize myself out of my business enough for me to ever make that possible. So I go, okay, maybe I'm setting an unfair and unrealistic expectation of myself because of this book that I've read. So what I actually did is I designed another framework called the Lifestyle Business Plan. So we've already spoken on a couple of these subjects, but I created really 4 measures of success. The first one is that I want to have a business that allows me to have $400,000 a year in profit or more. Because I know that if I can produce $400,000 a year in profit from my business, I can not only have an amazing lifestyle and pretty much do anything that I'd ever want to do, but I can have an amazing amount of surplus that I can put away to plan for the future. Yeah. Second thing is I want to work 4 days a week. Because if I was working any less than 4 days a week, I'd go mental. I enjoy what I do. I'm passionate about it. But having that freedom and flexibility to work 4 days and have 3 days to do the things that I enjoy, like four-wheeling or going off grid or doing jiu-jitsu, even though every time I train, I get injured. But it's having that flexibility because it recharges my batteries and it actually gives me more ideas. Then the third one is working 44 weeks a year. Because if I can have 2 weeks off, completely switched off from my business every quarter, I'm going to make that business 100 times better when I come back. And then the last one is building. I'm really
scared when I disappear, because when I go off, I get all these ideas and then I come back and I'm like, I want to do all these things. I think they like it when I stay in the business.
Exactly. I can keep an eye on you.
I love that time.
And exactly. And I'm exactly the same. And the last one is that $4 million in net wealth. Because if I can achieve $4 million in net wealth outside of my home and outside of my business, I have complete freedom of opportunity and my wealth will last in perpetuity, more than I could ever spend. So $400K a year, 4 days a week, 44 weeks a year, 4 mil of net wealth. There's 4 fours that I need to hit. And if I hit those, the world is my oyster. And how I measure my success, those are the outcomes. We can't measure those because those are lag indicators. I ask myself 3 questions if I do anything in my life or my business. 1, is it making me more profit? 2, is it helping me win back my time? Or 3, is it helping me build more personal wealth? And when I started asking myself these questions, when I did everything, whether it be personally or in my business, it changed the way that I approached how I spent my time. Because I was spending my time, I wasn't investing it. And that was a game changer for me.
Yeah. One of my mentors, James Schramko, has this beautiful calculation of number of hours invested in a business and net profit returned. And so it's like profit per hour invested, which I really love. And I've got another calculation on my channel about, how to work out your hourly rate and okay, for every hour that you're putting into the business, what needs to come back. And I love optimizing time, because once you've kind of optimize the business as much as possible, optimizing for time is the next step. It's the other resource to also balance out as well.